Hello and welcome to the Talk Football podcast. It is season 4, episode 2. Now, I said that we would be doing, I would be doing one episode a month, but hey, you're getting 2 in 2 days because I am joined by a regular member of the team joining us here on the pod, Mr. Andy Reid. Good morning, Mr. Reid.
Good morning, Mr. Hodgie.
And we are here today. We're going to be having a bit of a catch up with Andy and talking all things Man United. They've had an eventful few weeks, really. They've been probably one of the busier clubs in the transfer market. So we're going to cover that, and then Andy's general feelings about how he thinks the season might go. So yeah, it has been an eventful couple of weeks, hasn't it? I mean, you've had obviously yesterday a Højlund signing.
Absolutely. Now it's like they've done the same with the Varane thing. Didn't announce it until the friendly against Lens, which was, I can't fault it. That's the best way to do it. Absolutely the best way to do it.
So we'll start with your transfers, and of course, if I can, I mean, yesterday I did film this with Paul, and the intention was that the YouTube version would actually be this video that we're like kind of doing now, but for some reason the technology glitched and the file was corrupted, so I could only put it out as audio. But hopefully today I'll get it right, and this is because I think everyone wants to see Mr. Reid's shirt that he's wearing. Pains me to see it, but yeah, what's on the back, Mr. Reid?
I've got to put my phone somewhere. Oh, try not to spill my drink as well while I'm doing it. And put his phone somewhere.
Mr. Reid is going to stand up and give us a little twirl here.
I'm trying to hold my phone up. That's the only thing, because it's on charge. Bear with, viewers. I know you want to see the amazing, but it is.
Oh dear, it's got a 7. It's Mason Mount, number 7.
Which is very surprising for a number 7.
Do you know what? I mean, I'm just before we talk about the actual, like, the transfer itself and the amount of money it costs and whatnot. I mean, obviously, there's a bit of history that goes with that shirt.
Yeah, of course there is.
And I'm quite surprised that he's taken that sort of like that burden of the number on. And given obviously his open goal miss yesterday.
Great start already, but it's a friendly. We'll let him off.
We'll start off with Mount because he was probably the first big one of the summer. Obviously, I think it's good business all round, really, because he only had a year left on his contract. Clearly, he indicated that what we were offering him wasn't good enough, and he wasn't going to sign. I'm not so sure that he maybe was going to sign anyway. But we'll save that for a upcoming Chelsea podcast. I'll get my feelings out on that. But I think it's good business all round. You're getting a very, very good player, in my opinion. I hold no grudges against him for the transfer. So I think the total package will work out around about 65 odd million, which is like 55 million up front, rest in add-ons. And so I think that's good business for us, for a player that only had a year left on a contract. And you're getting a very good player.
And obviously still stupidly young as well. And none of our midfielders are getting any younger. Bruno's not getting younger. Casemiro's in his 30s. Eriksen's in his 30s. So to bring someone experienced in the Prem.
Initially, I sort of struggled to see kind of where he would fit, because like obviously in England he's kind of done like a mix between bit of midfield, but then kind of playing as part of a forward line, front three-ish kind of thing. And I kind of sort of struggled. But yesterday, he started him alongside Casemiro, which was.
That's to say, I'm not actually. I'm trying to get highlights of the Lens game. I'm only seeing bits on like the TikTok and the Man United page, but because you got to subscribe to MUTV, you got to.
Well, actually,
watch it.
They actually got extended highlights. If you go on the beIN, I think that's how you pronounce it, the beIN Sports French YouTube. They've got the full highlights of the game on there because, of course, everyone was going crazy about Onana being done from near the halfway line.
It's not the first keeper, and it won't be the last.
No. Yeah, so I think overall, Mount's a good signing for you.
Absolutely. So. Like, I was a bit surprised first when Chelsea were going to let him go, but he's made it clear that Chelsea didn't want him.
Well, I think this is the thing.
As a Chelsea fan,
I don't think that. This is the whole thing with Chelsea fans that down a year since Mount sort of broke into the team of like, oh, he's not good enough. He was just Frank's, love
Frank's
child.
little baby, wasn't he?
Yeah. I always rated him personally. I think he brings energy to the team, or any team he plays in, and I really actually do hope he does well at United, because I think England need a good fit and fire. I've said this before on that little Chelsea podcast today. England need a good fit and fire in Mason Mount for me. I think he brings
100%.
I think he brings a lot to the team. Maybe not always starting, but certainly energy to the squad.
So, 100%. Even the last couple of games in the Euros against, for instance, the France game.
Yeah.
Mount changed the whole game. Now, hopefully he carries on doing that for United the whole way through. We find out next week against Wolves with our first game.
I mean, it must be quite intimidating, obviously, because he's only ever known Chelsea, and yeah, I know we are a big club. I know some people would disagree with that, but bought our history. This, that,
you are,
but we are a big club, right? Yeah. So, but United is a big club. You know what I mean? And what I'm saying is, I'm talking about, that's the history of the shirt, and the players that have come before that. You going all the way back to, you go all the way back to the Busby Babes and everything else, and class of '92, Ronaldo, Rooney, people that have come and played in that shirt, and it's it's a massive stadium. It must be a fairly intimidating place to step out. I think that's probably seen that actually, because I've seen a bit of nervousness in his performances in these pre-season games. So,
well, that's it. He's come completely new club to him. Obviously, like you say, he's been at Chelsea since the age of 9.
Yeah,
he's only played for one club. Now he's come to Man United. He's got big expectations, especially with the history of the shirt, like the number he's playing for as well.
Yeah,
that's a big ask.
Yeah,
and not that many players. Obviously, before Ronaldo's second turn, how many players have fouled that number 7 shirt? So obviously that's got to be playing on his mind as well.
I think so. Well, if you think he only had a year left on his contract, so can you imagine what the transfer fee would have been if it had been more than 1 year? I mean, maybe we'd have been talking up in that sort of. I know it's crazy because I don't think any players are worth that kind of money, but I think you probably would have been talking up around that sort of Declan Rice range.
Yeah, that's right. But then he's another very good English midfielder.
We are pretty blessed with him at the moment, I have to say.
We are at the minute, and I'm not complaining with him joining United.
No,
he's going to be replacing Eriksen and Casemiro
long term. I think Eriksen Eriksen long term is where I see probably maybe what Ten Hag is thinking. A player that can play between those lines, transitioning between doing that defensive work, but equally having the ability to turn a game quickly and transition into the
straight up
phase.
The top there.
Yeah,
helping Rashi, obviously now Højlund and Garnacho.
Do you know what? I mean, you've got some forward options now. I mean, let's talk about Højlund for a start. I mean, a raw talent. Obviously, he's from a similar kind of region. He's big Viking stature, big tall.
That's it.
Maybe people are thinking in the mold of a Haaland. Hasn't got anywhere near the goal record of Haaland yet. But I think this is a potential buy. You're buying now a player that maybe, if he'd have carried on the way he was going and doing well with Atalanta, and perhaps if he'd have gone maybe off instead of United, perhaps if he'd have gone off to a German club for 50,
either German or Spain, I could have seen him going to, weren't it?
Yeah, and then kicked on again. It's possibly a player that would have cost you in excess of 100 million, maybe in another year or two.
Yeah,
if he maintained those kind of levels. I think obviously he's a bit rough around the edges, but big, strong. I think he's that. I mean, people have spoken, particularly like the likes of Neville and a few other United legends. They've spoken about having that United kind of lacked that typical number 9.
Yeah, what we needed is another Zlatan. Big guy up front.
Yeah.
The big guy up front who's not afraid to go for defenders.
Brings everyone into play. Holds that ball.
Yeah.
A bit like what he did kind of with Weghorst, but the quality levels, obviously.
Yeah, I'm hopeful. Obviously, Højlund's going to score more goals than Weghorst.
Yeah.
I liked Weghorst, but he's not a United player.
No, I think in terms of actually being an all-round player, obviously Højlund, he'll be better on the ball and stuff like that.
Not to mention,
obviously quicker.
Yeah, not to mention the bloke is only 20.
Well, this is it. I think what I like with Ten Hag, I see in him is that I think he can take players, maybe similar kind of in a way to sort of Pochettino, take a young player and really mould them into the player that he needs. I think, and that's what you're buying with Højlund, and that's the ability to mould him into the kind of striker that you need him to be.
Well, that's it. It's going to ease pressure off Rashford now, I think, because Rashford, obviously, the whole of last season, he was the main man. He was the only striker we had. Martial was the point, but Rashford was the only one there who was scoring the goals.
I like Martial, but he can't stay fit and he can't keep consistency, which I think is a shame because I think there's a real cracking player in there. I've always have done. I've always liked Martial, but it's a case of whether he has the appetite for it. Sometimes it comes across that way on the pitch with him.
Arrogant,
that typical sort of like French arrogance, which is a good trait in a way if you apply it on the pitch. And I think with him, you just don't see enough. You see glimpses of a great player, and then the rest of the time it's just like, well, we need another number 9.
He played the first pre-season game, scored, and then
he got injured.
And I'm like,
here we go again.
Yeah. And it's just a shame because like when he first came and he scored the goal against Swansea and Liverpool and all that. He just
Liverpool in his debut. Yeah. I mean,
he just he took out Jamie Carragher and all that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, and we have another. I mean, Jesus Christ! I mean, you're throwing the money around. Club's supposed to be up for sale, but you're pinging money around like you wouldn't believe. And of course, you've addressed the goalkeeper situation. So, although he did get beaten from the halfway line, that is something that you get with Onana, because I've watched a lot of Dutch football when he was at Ajax. I've watched a lot of Italian football when he was at Inter, and he does take risks. He does he plays that old fashioned sort of sweeper keeper role, but he's with his feet. I think 40 odd million up front. I think there's a fair whack in add-ons in behind that as well. But I think you're getting a great keeper. 100% would have taken him at Chelsea.
He's a great, don't get me wrong, like obviously the whole Inter Milan, he was a great keeper for Inter Milan, but as you well know, the Premier League's a completely different league from Serie A, and
I can't say
the Dutch league, but you know what I mean.
Eredivisie,
yeah, that one. But you can't compare. Right, it's my worker ringing. That's why.
That's all right, mate. That's all right. Technology, eh?
Yeah, because I'm supervisor on call today. So literally, Onana, I'm hoping it as well. But then now he's coming up against all the big clubs. You got, for instance, Haaland, Jesus, and all that. I think what it is
that I think he'll have to be a little bit aware in terms of like, because the defenders in front of him are still capable of a mistake. As we saw with that goal, Dalot gives the ball away, silly pass, and then he gives the ball away, etc. Blah 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 blah. He gets stuff on the other. I think he'll learn from that. I think he'll learn that that there is a different kind of pace to the Premier League, if you like.
Yeah, definitely. Like everyone says, if you can manage it in the Premier League, you can do it in any other league.
Yeah, I think so.
All my drivers are now turned up.
Oh, that's all right. Andy hasn't got to go in and drive a bus.
No, not today.
No, so obviously, Andy's the same as me. So he's a bus driver, same as me. But he's also the supervisor. So he wears the big man shoes. And so like you said, he's on call today. So just in case we get any interruptions, that's Andy's work calling him. And
just answering the phone. I've got a problem with the bus or something. Drivers.
Yeah, I'll fill in the dead air, and you can listen to me rattle on about United players for a few seconds extra. But yeah, so that's your main transfers. Obviously, you've taken Johnny Evans on a short-term contract, which I think, given potential injuries that we've seen in like with Varane, and I think that's a smart move because I think he's still a good player.
All right, I do like him. I've always liked Johnny Evans.
Yeah. I think he'd be a bit of a leader.
Another one. Yeah, he's another one who's going to cope. For instance, the game against we got battered by Wrexham, but he's that experienced guy who teach the youngsters.
Yeah,
because Johnny Evans was class at Leicester. It didn't really work out the first time he was at United because obviously he was behind Vidic and Birdie.
I think it's just a sensible thing, like a bit of experience around the squad, a familiar face, someone who knows the club. There's no pressure on it. He's not likely to start many games. But
it'll just be like the cup games here and there.
He's there and around about the club. And obviously, if it was a short-term deal, I think they're looking at offering him a 1-year deal now.
Yeah.
Which, again, I think for him, it's great for him to be back at obviously a club that he came through the academy with, etc. So that's your ins. You've got a couple of players that have returned on loan, but I don't expect that they'll be around the club much longer, which is obviously Eric Bailly.
Yeah, I reckon he'll go. Dean Henderson.
Yeah, Kovar. Kovar's another young keeper. He'll probably go back out on loan.
Yeah. There's talks of another guy obviously coming in. That's Amrabat from Fiorentina.
So obviously I know him quite well because obviously I'm a bit of a Juve fan, hence the shirt behind me. And obviously I've watched a lot of Italian football. I've watched a lot of pardon me, and coffee repeating on me. I've watched a lot of Fiorentina as well. So yeah, he's a very, very good player. I think initially when he was a bit younger, he was kind of thought of himself more of maybe of a winger, more of an attacking midfield. Morocco started playing him deeper in the midfield, and particularly during the World Cup, he really shone in that role, in that number 6 role. I think if you get him, that's a great signing because I think him and Casemiro as the pivot, as the two, I mean that works well because he's got the legs as well.
Yeah, so imagine him and Casemiro, obviously the defensive mids, and then obviously you got Bruno, Mount.
Yeah,
Rashid supporting Højlund.
It's great.
Antony. He's trying to build 2 in every position, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's going to be, as I say, Amrabat and Cassie.
Yeah, and you need that. You need depth.
Yeah, I mean, especially how many games we played last season.
Yeah, clearly, I think McTominay is a very, very a good player, but a player, if you really want to go to that next level, regularly finishing top 4, challenging City for the title. You need players that are going to step up from that kind of level.
Yeah. I still can't see us challenging for the title. No, top 4 should still be there again. But
yeah, I think it's going to be tight, though, because there's a fair few, there's 6 or 7 clubs now that are really pushing, and then obviously 6 or 7 into 4 just doesn't go. So someone's going to miss out.
The one club I'm looking forward to playing this season is you lot.
Well, I think we've done good business on both ins and particularly on the outs. There's still a few more that I would like to see go, personally. But talking of outs, I've got a list in front of me of your outs.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. I'll get your thoughts on each one of these because I'll start with the top one because I think it's a bit of a shame and I think there may be a missed opportunity. Anthony Elanga, off to Forest, 17-odd million quid. What's your feelings on that? Because I thought he was a good player.
Cracking player, but last season he was nowhere near the potential he was under Ollie.
Yeah.
Obviously, Ollie broke him into the first team and then started playing him.
21, 22?
He's still very young. But then, for instance, you got to look at the players who are now, for instance, brought Højlund in. So now Rashford's going to be back in
on the
Elanga position.
Yeah.
Antony's on the right. Sancho's playing out of his skin again.
Yeah, still got Sancho.
Yeah. So how many games is Elanga really going to play?
I suppose. And of course, everyone, don't matter how big you are, you've all got to comply with FFP.
Absolutely.
So I suppose you do have to generate some sort of sales and get wages off the budget. So
17, maybe we'll get a bit more though.
Yeah, do you know what? In today's current market, the way things go, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how long he had left on his contract. Maybe he was down to like a final year or something. So maybe Forest just got in there at the right time.
Yeah,
but yeah, so that was your big one.
Elanga.
Yeah, I thought he was an exciting player. I've always felt that when he came on, that even though on occasions, a bit like sort of like an Alan St. Maximin, could be a bit of a headless chicken. But then, if he didn't know what he was doing, sure as hell the defenders didn't know what he was going to do.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I thought that was a bit of a missed opportunity. Maybe a loan instead of a permanent, just to send him away, get him some football, and then potentially you're getting a very good player coming back that's had
a great season out on
25, 30 games, season under his belt. So, but yeah, it is what it is.
I can see why we're sold him, because you say you got all the other players around him, like the Garnachos, the Antonys, Sancho, Rashis. How many games is Elanga really going to play? And Garnacho is going to be over Elanga all the time.
But having said that, you're in 4 competitions, so you've got the 2 domestic cups, the league, you've got Champions League. So I think there would have been opportunities, particularly obviously Carabao Cup, FA Cup, to rest players and play these. But it is what it is. He's gone now, so obviously you still got an abundance of attacking wealth. Another one, probably no surprise, Telles off to Al Nassr, 7 million. Never really worked out for Telles.
It didn't really work out, but
everyone like me and you, we all play FIFA, so we've known about someone whose players and how good they have been for a number of years, basically because of playing computer games. But Telles, I thought was a strange one.
Yeah, the Alex Telles leaving, like when he brought in what's his name, Tyrell
Malacia. Yeah, Malacia.
When he brought in Malacia, I'm like, okay, we've got 2 left backs already with Shaw and Alex Telles. Alex Telles, he was like obviously the number Romero.
Sent him out on loan. I can't remember where he went on loan.
Sevilla, weren't it? He won the Europa League.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And then the whole
amazing.
He's another one.
Win a trophy.
Yeah, here's another one there who's always, you could always rely on him. Like it was another Sergio Romero when we had him as a keeper. So when Shaw played so many games, he was a bit knackered. Alex Telles, give a couple of games. He didn't make many mistakes. Alex Telles, he scored a couple of cracking goals.
Again, I mean, maybe it's an age thing. Maybe you want, maybe Ten Hag wants to get the average age of the squad, back down around that sort of 25 mark.
Yeah, he's also probably thinking, well, Shaw, Malacia, how many games am I going to play against? Another Elanga situation.
Well, yeah, and 7 million, I suppose that's a fair amount.
7 million, and also he's gone to Saudi, and now he's getting a lot of money.
Yeah, well, do you know what? I'm planning, as I mentioned with Paul yesterday, I'm planning to do a bit of a podcast. So I'm doing my research on the Saudi clubs, the PIF, and all that. So once I've completed that research and I know everything I need to know,
that'll be an interesting go where we all have a banter on it.
Yeah, so I want to do one where obviously we discuss it as a group, and I'm also going to do one where I just do like a fact find pod where I give everyone the information about, like doing one on my own, where I say, right, this is what the Saudi League's all about. These are the powerhouses. Obviously, the PIF bought 4 of the clubs. I don't understand how that can work, where you own 4 clubs in one league, but that's their rules. As I said yesterday with Paul, that's their rules. That's what they want to do. But yeah, all right. So we got another young player. I never really saw much of him. I see him every now and then in a couple of like Carabao Cup games, which is Zidane Iqbal. So you've sold him to Utrecht for £1 million. I don't really know that much about him, to be honest. So I mean, that's all on you.
There was a lot of like potential with him.
Yeah.
So I said we should have sold him.
Do you think again, like you've mentioned with Elanga, do you think it kind of falls into that you've got a lot of players in those areas and it's just,
But he's still in his teens. He's still a kid.
Yeah.
He's older than him.
I mean, £1 million in today's, market does seem awfully cheap.
Yeah, it's like a pan.
It's like, yeah.
A couple of games he has played and the pre-season games and the under-21s.
When I saw him in like Carabao Cup games and all that, I thought he was a good young attacking sort of midfielder.
He was never afraid to stick a foot in as well. Never afraid. He's like I know Roy Keane was like the defensive, but he was like a Roy Keane, brutal, right on coming at you.
Yeah, if I remember rightly, big shaggy hair as well.
Yeah, the massive afro, like and like he was never afraid to stick a foot in, and he
never afraid to be seen. That's
sent off in a friendly or something, And I mean, he went proper straight in.
Well, maybe that's it. Maybe Ten Hag just feels that his age and all that is not much he can do with him. Maybe he just feels he's a bit too reckless and thought, well, let's let the kid go, let him go and have some football.
Yeah. Oh, he might have said, "Look, are you going to play me? You're not going to play me."
Yeah. Probably not a coincidence. Obviously, he's gone to Utrecht, and that'll be a kind of club I would imagine. Obviously, Ten Hag would probably know quite well, so he knows that the kid will be in good hands.
That's right. He's got his connections, isn't he? Especially like the Ajax and all the other little clubs he's managed and played for.
It. Yeah, a couple of other relatively obviously one high profile departure, and two that obviously wouldn't be any surprise to people. De Gea, maybe a slightly low key departure in the end. Really, he never really got a chance to say goodbye to the fans, and I think that's a bit of a shame after all these years.
I'm very bitter on that one. Like,
do you think he deserved another year on a contract, or?
Yeah, like if he took his wages down a lot more, because he was still on 375 a week. De Gea, could he help Onana out?
I think maybe that kind of experience.
Yeah.
But then, he is age 32. Does he want to be sat on the bench?
But then if you look like how many games he could play in the Champions Leagues, because he's been there, done that.
Yeah.
Carabao Cups, FA Cups. Like, there's not just 38 games of the season. Man United we played what? The final of the FA Cup, won the League Cup, semi-finals of the Europa.
Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously, the 38 games in the Prem. That's a lot. That's nearly 60 games a season.
Yeah, and you've let Butland go as well. Obviously, I know that was an end of loan. You took him on loan from Palace, but obviously he's gone as well. So you're down two goalkeepers. Yeah, you brought one in. So I'd imagine that there's another youngish sort of goalkeeper knocking around the club. I know. What's his name? Tom Heaton's still around.
Tom Heaton's still there, yeah.
But he's what, 37, 38?
We're on about possibly getting a goalkeeper from Japan League, the Japanese league.
Okay. Yeah.
So he might be
a bit more
back up to Onana with him, because obviously he has played.
Yeah.
Heaton, I reckon he'll just retire there and he'll take on the goalkeeping coaching side. Like,
I think actually, we were saying obviously about De Gea's experience and maybe helping, Onana settle in. But I mean, Heaton certainly got obviously a lot of Premier League experience, so he'll definitely help him with that. I would think. Another one obviously was Tuan Zabi, end of contract again. He's not even that old.
Only 20.
Quite surprised. It's like 20. It's 25, and I thought there was always a good player in there, but never really quite worked out. I think he obviously struggled with his fitness as well.
Struggle with his fitness, and he's not good. Is another one. How much more game time is going to get?
Yeah. I mean, he paid a lot of money for some of the central defenders you got. So yeah, but yeah. I mean, so he's gone. Obviously, got to mention Phil Jones. I mean,
the club legend is finally.
I remember when Ferguson signed him at 19
on Blackburn.
I think it was 17 odd million at the time.
Yeah, 16.8 or something like that.
Which was obviously considered a large amount of money at the time. And Ferguson said that he thought that this kid was going to go on to be one of the greatest players to ever wear a Man United shirt. Probably one of the funniest faces to ever wear a Man.
Just remember the Van Persie one.
But do you know what? Fair play to Jones.
He kept it as long as he could.
He kept it going. He had an absolute fortune out of it, and
one game in like 4 years he played.
I think it's a shame because, again, I do think he was a very good player, a very good defender. He, very much in the mould of a John Terry, if you like, will throw his body and his face into everything.
He done that. Like, I just remember the Van Persie thing. Yeah.
Do you remember the 2-inch header off the floor?
Yeah, the Van Persie. The Van Persie thing. Like, he's on the floor. He's just edited it against Van Persie's leg.
Away. Brilliant. Yeah. So I think obviously the injuries, ruined his career.
Never helped him, no.
Absolutely ruined his career. But a good character. I'd imagine he would have been a good lad to have around, like the dressing room and the training ground, etc. So yeah. So I mean, you've had a fair few outs, fair few ins. A few notable, obviously, end of loans in Sabitzer. I'm a little bit surprised. I think Sabitzer maybe could have added a bit to the squad, you know, if he'd have took it permanently. I think he's a good player. And not an exciting player, not a player that's going to get you off your seat, but a steady Eddie, someone who will give you a 6 or 7, out of 10 performance each week.
He done it in the Europa League when it was against Sevilla, and he scored twice against Sevilla when obviously we lost, and he was the only one who's like watched the game, and he was the only one who's playing for the shirt. And he was only on loan.
Yeah. I thought I've always liked Sabitzer. Yet again, watching him in various leagues where he's played around Europe, etc. Yeah, I think he'll do well. I think is he signed for Dortmund? I thought he just went back to Munich. Or is that done deal now?
He has signed for Dortmund there.
Oh no! Well, that's a great move for him. I mean, 29, going to Dortmund.
Left Munich, got half a season under United, and then now he's at Dortmund.
He'd be first choice, I would imagine, in the Dortmund midfield alongside Emre Can. I think that'd be a good one for him. Do you know what? I haven't actually looked outside, but I mean, it has brightened up down here.
It's not up here.
You're getting the tail end of the weather we had yesterday now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's all your transfers. So the last sort of things we'll touch on will be sort of like how you see your season going, your hopes for it. Like we said at the start, there's a lot of competition.
100% now.
We've obviously Arsenal
going to be so open.
Yeah, City have obviously strengthened. Defensively, bringing in Gvardiol. They brought in obviously Kovacic from us, which I still find that's a bit of a strange one. I'm not quite sure.
Very strange. It's like the Mountain United one, very strange as well.
I just don't see that his sort of style and the way he plays.
You got to think Gundogan's gone, isn't he? So he's sort of replacing Gundogan, isn't he?
But I just don't see him as a Pep type player. Could be proven wrong. It could be an absolute masterstroke, but 30 odd million for a 29-year-old, not long left on his contract. Again, I think relatively good business for us, but we've got a real bad habit at the moment, Chelsea, that we seem to be strengthening everyone around us. So we need to stop that and start send them all to the Saudi league and stop strengthening stop strengthening everyone else.
It's going to be a cracking. I'm hoping it's going to be a cracking season. You think City, Arsenal, United, Liverpool, Arsenal, Newcastle, Chelsea.
Yeah, Arsenal have strengthened. They brought in.
I don't want to say Spurs, but we don't know what this new bloke's going to be like.
They're struggling. They're struggling, and obviously, if you get a chance to listen back to the pod with Paul that we did yesterday, they're massively short on centre half. Although they brought the young lad in yesterday from Blackburn, who's a very good, promising young player. So that was a done deal. They're looking. They've got another centre half, Van der Ven, that they could be. I think there's around about 40 odd million that they could be bringing in within the next few days. Obviously, the big one for them is whether or not Kane.
Kane stays. Yeah. I reckon he should come.
I don't think he will. Well, he won't now. Not with Højlund, but I think it's Munich or nothing. But if he stays at Spurs and Højlund maybe doesn't work out, a Harry Kane
partnership. I'd like to see that.
A Harry Kane in 12 months' time on a free. That's
everyone's going to be after him.
Everyone's going to be licking their lips on that. Newcastle have strengthened. They finished obviously top 4. This current season just gone. They've strengthened a bit. They brought in Livramento. Great business for Chelsea, by the way, because we got 15 million in that.
Yeah, you add-ons, wasn't it?
Well, we had we sold him to Southampton for nearly 5 million. And we had a 40% sell-on clause. Now, that's something we learned, obviously, because in the past, we got burned. Salah, KDB, Lukaku, etc. So we got burned on big transfers. So what they've done, and I have to say, Marina, she was brilliant with our transfers under Roman and all that. And she started then inserting these clauses, particularly with the young players, that we'll let you go. You can go and play your football. We'll sell you nominal fees. You can go to your Southamptons, go to wherever. But 1, we'll have a buyback clause, and 2, we'll have a sell on of a proportion on sale. which is clever.
A lot.
Clever, and obviously that's paid dividend. But yeah, again, I think he's a very good young player. He'll push Trippier really hard for a starting berth for Newcastle. But
100%.
yeah, again, I think Newcastle go very, very. I mean, they've signed Barnes from Leicester. I think that's a cracking signing. So yet again, Eddie Howe and the PIF that own Newcastle, very, very clever with the way they're not going out and going these really daft marquee signings. Tonali.
That's it, like Newcastle, they could buy any bad person they want right now.
To a degree, but they still, yet again,
obviously,
still got to comply FFP. Hence why they've had to sell St. Maximin to enable them, because obviously he was on good wages, and then the transfer fee to enable them to bring in these other players.
Yeah.
So they're a threat to top four. A club that I've spoken. Well, yeah, I mean, we just don't know how it's going to go. We're unbeaten in. You can't really take too much interest in what happens in pre-season, but we are unbeaten in our pre-season, and that's playing some notable teams. Particularly the game against Fulham. I thought, bearing in mind what happened when we played Fulham in the Premier League during the season, which was a shock.
Oh, what happened there, Hodgie?
Listen, I've got a lot of friends who support Fulham, and of course, Southwest 6 is black and white, so I hold my hands up. But we had a shocking season. And that was part of the reasons, one of the reasons why I was thinking about jacking in doing podcasting, because I kind of like, after the whole thing with Potter or World Cup in the middle of the season, I completely fell out of love with football.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
But yeah, I think we've spent. I thought we brought in some really good players. Obviously, in Nkunku, I love the look of Jackson. We obviously losing Fofana is a bit of a blow on the injury. Badiashile still injury, maybe out for at least the first month or so. So obviously we've signed Desisi rather from Monaco, another young French centre back, but mobile, quick, big, strong, good on the ball. That's another decent signing. Levi Colwell, he's another one. Obviously we've got him to sign a new 5-year contract, so that's another plus for us. So yeah,
one person in Nkunku has got to watch out for.
Yeah, but
the FIFA merchants will know about Nkunku.
Yeah, he's picked up obviously a knee injury, so we don't know quite how long he might be out with that one. But we have got other options. Mudryk, we've got obviously Noni Madueke. So there is other options. Sterling obviously still, although he hasn't had the greatest pre-season. So we do have options in our forward areas should Nkunku not be fit enough to start the season. So again, that's another potential threat for the top four for you, another challenge. And there's one team, and I'm sure you're probably going to agree with me, because I think the business they've done is incredible. And if you look at their form from last season, particularly when he took over, Aston Villa.
Yeah, Unai Emery.
Oh, mate, what a job. What a job he's done.
What a cracking job.
And momentum's a massive thing in football.
What's the challenging for Champions League, though?
I don't know,
definitely the Europa League spots.
Yeah, I mean, you think they finished in Conference League spot for this to qualify for that for this current season. They've gone out and got one of the best wingers around in Moussa Diaby.
Diaby, FIFA merchants again.
This is it. Yeah, maybe Unai Emery likes playing FIFA. We don't know, because he's gone out and got Pau Torres as well, which is a phenomenal signing. I mean, that's a European,
a Spanish international.
Mate, that's a European class defender right there. That's for me. That's a defender who would walk into many of the top four clubs. Starting 11s. I honestly believe he's that good. It's maybe. It goes maybe from a lot of people who maybe don't watch a lot of Spanish football. Perhaps he would have gone under the radar a little bit, but if you if you watched a lot of Europa League, and you've watched a bit of Spanish league football, La Liga, and all that, and you don't just watch Madrid and Barcelona, you'd know that this guy is a very good player.
With a Villarreal, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think a bit of a bargain. I mean, bearing in mind what City have just paid for Gvardiol, and I think Villa have paid about 30-odd mil. 35 mil or something like that, which for Villa is obviously still a lot of money.
It's a lot of money for Villa, but
people need to remember that Villa's owners are very, very wealthy, and they can and they do have the potential to spend big money. They just kind of maybe lost their way under previous managers, etc. The Gerrard, situation, Dean Smith before that, and all that.
Yeah, Dean Smith.
They've gone out and got a European class manager, and bear no bones about that, because I don't think Arsenal gave Unai Emery the time he should have been given. No. And then he goes off and wins, leaves Arsenal, goes off and wins 3 Europa Leagues in a row.
Yeah.
Or whatever you want to call it, Europa League, whatever. But goes off, wins trophies. That guy
wins European trophies.
That guy wins trophies. He knows how to win trophies. And I think, and I touched on this with Paul yesterday. I don't know how you feel about it, but I think with City achieving so much in what they did over that season, winning a treble, etc., there must be a little downturn in form, I would think. And I think that and I said this to Paul yesterday, I think that there'll be an opportunity for other clubs to, maybe win a trophy, etc. So yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting one. I think United I think they will finish in the top 4, but I think it'll be a lot tighter with other clubs around them than we think. So yeah, I think we're in for a really good season. And if it sounds like I'm wobbling on a little bit, it's because Mr. Reed has had to take another call from work. So we're just I'm just going to bubble on and talk about that. But yeah, it's I think it'll be an interesting season. I can't wait. And obviously we're only a few days away now, so we're actually, my brain's gone dead. Who have you got first game of the season?
Wolves.
That's an interesting one, because they haven't really done much. They've sold Jimenez.
That's a big loss for them.
Yeah. So I obviously, Lopetegui's a good manager. Whether or not he ends up sticking around with them or not, I don't know. But I was winding Paul up yesterday. I was actually saying that Ange Postecoglou is my favourite to be the first manager to get sacked. But having seen what's gone on in the last 24 hours now, I'm 100% sure Moyes might not even might not even make the start of the season.
Well, he's having a barney with the owners because they got 105 million for rights.
Well, apparently he's fallen out with the sporting director, who's the one who obviously goes out and identifies transfer targets or gets the transfer targets off of Moisey and tries to go and get and they're at odds. Moisey wants established Premier League players, people like James Ward-Prowse, Scott McTominay, Harry Maguire, and this sporting director's like, well, actually, we should be focusing on young players who've got the potential to come into the team and do something, and then maybe further down the line we sell another Declan Rice. And obviously Moyes is like, well, I need results now, and I don't need results.
I can't wait another year or two.
Yeah, so that'd be an interesting one.
It's
I'm getting attacked by this little fly again.
There's a thing, because obviously 99% of my family are West Ham fans. Don't get me wrong, they're a bit of that Rice left, but
yeah, I think that's understandable.
Right time to go.
Yeah, good money.
105 million. They thought they were going to get all these players in. Like they thought. I hope. No offense to him. I hope Maguire goes.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I think the problem is when you sell a player for a lot of money, and we've seen this with United in the past when obviously they sold like Ronaldo. Is that every club when you go in for a player now, they start adding a bit on because they go, well, we know you've got 100 million to play with, so that's the price we want, and if you want him, that's what you're paying. But
when we did sign Ronaldo, I remember the players we bought straight afterwards, and it was Bebe, Gabriel Obitan.
Yeah, they worked out well.
Yeah, they went down very well, didn't they? I mean, Bebe, Christ.
Is that 7 million for someone that he'd watched on a video or something, wasn't it?
Yeah. But then you for all
the success Fergie had, he did buy a few stinkers.
But then he bought some absolute bargains.
Well,
I can go forever.
I remember when you paid 30 million for a young lad from Liverpool, and look what he went on to do. Yeah. So, well, I think we've just about covered Man United for the time being.
for the time now until halfway through the season.
I said the same to Paul. We're going to come back in a couple of weeks after we've played a couple of games, each team, just to see like where we are. Hopefully, I'll try and if we can try and sort it. I don't know how we'll work it. It might have to be. I don't know how. Well, I'll organise it with you, but if we can try and find a way that we can get, say, me, you, and Paul together in one.
Because what about your Derby, mate?
Well, it's Derby in it, not Premier League. Sorry, Ad. But
yeah, sorry, Adam. But then surely he's obviously a football football guy.
I'll do him a disservice. He's a complete football nut as well. And it was great to see. I don't know if you saw the pictures yesterday. If anyone's if you're listening back on this anyway, have a pop on the socials because there's some great pictures from Pride Park yesterday that Ad sent through. But I put them up on the TikTok page. So yeah. Despite the result, they had a great day. They did see a great goal. Derby scored a great goal, but they did get turned over 2-1 by Wigan in the end. So it was a day for a rude awakenings, I would say, across the EFL yesterday. Just to touch on that before we finish up, because obviously Wrexham had their first game back in the Football League for 15 odd years, get turned over 5-3 in the end. But I don't. Yeah, MK Dons. That's a tough ask. First game of the season, anyway. And of course, one of my local teams, Sutton United, they absolutely battered Notts County. So 5-1, I think it was in the end. Goalkeeper got sent off.
I will have to say another thing. I know it's nothing to do with the teams we support, but it's nice to see Bury. Like they played a game at was it Gig Lane in it?
Gig Lane, yeah.
Gig Lane there. And it's nice to see Gig Lane back open.
Yeah.
That was Bury. So
just to touch on another, obviously with the whole like Wrexham thing and the Hollywood owners and all that, Tom Brady buying into Birmingham, and that was a bit left field. Of all the clubs.
Like I said, I don't know anything about football, but I'm here as a Blue.
Yeah, well, to be fair to him, elite sports people share things in common, no matter what sport you play, whether it's football, American sports, athletics, whatever. Elite sports people share a thing in common, and that's the desire to perform and to win. And to be fair, in sport, there really isn't many better than Tom Brady. So if you can just impart his kind of like winning mentality, and you bring that into that Birmingham dressing room, and they take that on board, maybe things can start happening.
There's a couple other people like Bolt with United, LeBron and Liverpool in it. LeBron sniffed around Liverpool.
And to be fair, on a lower level, because I don't know if you heard about Zaha and Stormzy bought Croydon.
He's a Croydon boy, isn't he?
Yeah. So it'd be So we could definitely come back and we're going to be talking about not just our own clubs. We're going to talk about other aspects of.
There's another one I can mention as well. He's in part of my local club, and that's Tim Howard with Dagenham Redbridge.
Really?
He's a freeway ownership. Freeway ownership.
Know this.
Yeah, honestly, it's Tim Howard and some American firm owned by two geezers, and they're all part of Dagenham Redbridge. They own it.
Wow. Okay. So we could see the Dags on a bit of a push then.
They bought them out. They bought us out. I think it's the second year now they've had us, and a lot has changed. All right, we're still not fighting for Football League right now. I'm still mid-table in the conference,
but building
it 100%. Like
bit in. I suppose the blueprint is Wrexham. Get in, steady the club, make improvements, improve the facilities, gradually start improving the playing squad, and then have a real push for it second, third year kind of thing.
That's it. You got to look at where Dagenham are. Like we're 15 minutes down the road from West Ham.
Yeah.
So that's why we play West Ham every year in a friendly, and it's lovely.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see like all these big guys looking, as you say, the Wrexham boys. They didn't have to take over Wrexham. They didn't have to touch any football teams. So we'll buy a little team.
I think it's a bit of a breath of fresh air, and I love it. The fact that these guys are going into lower league clubs not at the real top end, because I think it breathes life into the grassroots football at the lower end of the pyramid, and I think that's phenomenal. Yeah, and if you've got more people going to watch, grassroots
the
lower
league
football,
teams,
financially those clubs become far more stable. But also it helps all the other clubs as well. So the likes of a Wrexham, they will take a big away crowd, to games, and so that
helps
those
other teams out
exactly, yeah. And this was a knock-on effect actually. AFC Wimbledon down the years. As they progressed through the leagues, obviously they were a Phoenix club. MK Don, Pete Winkelman uprooted, the original Wimbledon, took them off to Milton Keynes as a franchise club, if you like. And then the fans obviously weren't happy with it. We're never going to follow it to Milton Keynes. So they formed their own club, AFC Wimbledon, which an old schoolmate of mine Joe Sheeran, ended up being captain of. He was a Chelsea player, actually. I think he had like one senior Chelsea appearance. He came on as a sub in the Premier League for Gianfranco Zola for a couple of minutes. I think he ended up at Bournemouth for a little bit when they were down. I think they were around about probably like League One or whatever. And then obviously he ended up towards the latter part of his career. He ended up at AFC Wimbledon and ended up being their captain. A very good player all the way. He's one of them players when I'm very lucky actually, because when I was at school, I got to play with two players that actually went on to become full-time professionals, which was obviously Joe Sheeran and Damien Francis, which you would recognise from obviously Wimbledon, Watford, Wigan. Ended up being a Jamaica international with his heritage. Unfortunately, had to obviously end his career with a bad knee injury around about 31. But I think he's an agent now, actually. I'd have to have a little check up. I haven't had a look.
What, mate? Do you remember me from school, son?
Yeah. Fancy coming on a podcast?
That'd be a good one, imagine.
Well, you never know. You can only but ask. Do you know what? Just to touch on it before we go, harking back to my school days, we had some players. I mean, some of the guys that I used to play with, a few of them ended up in like non-league and stuff like that. But we had my school team in my year was just absolute dirt, mate. I mean, I couldn't get anywhere near the starting lineup, and I weren't a bad player, But a mate of mine, Scotty Neal, he was a cracking goalkeeper. He could play anywhere on the pitch, actually. There was a young lad called Wayne O'Sullivan, a wand of a left foot. Another guy, talented all-round player, carrying the ball. Ed Davies, I think he ended up playing a bit. I think maybe at Carshalton. I'd have to check that, but some cracking players. I was very, very fortunate. But of course, that's where my love of football started.
Yeah, I remember there was a guy at my school I went to school with, and he actually had tryouts for Dynamo Kiev.
Yeah.
Obviously, I know he's in Ukraine now, but I don't know how he's getting on. But I know he went tryouts for Kiev, and he's a Georgian who lived in Dagenham. So
there we go. People from all around the world.
Anything happens.
Yeah. Right. So listen, obviously, for all those people listening, etc. And if you want to catch up with previous episodes that Andy's obviously been on, you've got to get on the socials. So they're obviously on the description on all of our posts. You'll have the link tree, which gets you to all the socials for the podcast. So make sure you get on them because we want that interaction with you. And obviously, if you want to be a guest on the show, just come on, do it like me and Andy are doing now. You come on, you talk about your club. Doesn't matter what you are, what league you are, non-league, whatever.
Any team you support.
This is it. And what I'd really love, bearing in mind, because I've not really touched on it too much, but I am going to do a bit of a review podcast for the Women's World Cup. So if there is any girls that are watching, or if you're a parent and your daughter plays football and starting to go into academies and stuff like that, I would love you to come on and we'll talk about grassroots football, particularly young girls getting into playing football as well, because I wish my daughter still had an interest in playing it, but that dissipated after she sort of like went to secondary school, which is a shame because she's a cracking defender. But yeah, so anyone out there that get in contact with the show, because we want more people to come on and start giving us their stories about their clubs, their thoughts, their feelings, their memories of when you first started going and whatever. So that's getting quite, and if you really want to do it the old-fashioned way, we even have an email address, so you can email the show on talkfootballpdc@gmail.com. But get on the social pages, particularly the TikTok, because that's where we're most active.
That's where he's most active.
I love a bit of TikTok. Completely addicted. So yeah, I'm going to say thank you to Mr. Andy Reid for getting up at this, which was an ungodly hour of a Sunday morning, even though he's on call from work. So thank you, Mr. Reid.
Cheers, Hodgie.
No worries, matey. And thank you to everyone for the support and giving me the energy to come back and crack on and do this season 4. And I am actually already starting to plan the next episode. So I will catch you then on the next episode of the Talk Football Podcast with me, your host Hodgie, and my special guest, Mr. Reid.
All right, here we go again. Cheers, boys.
No worries.
Or whatever you are nowadays.
Yeah. So, and we'll see you on the next episode, guys. Thank you very much for joining us. See you soon.
See ya.